The town of Varanasi is held in such reverence because it's situated where the Ganges turns north at its confluence with 4 underground streams. Into the city pour trainloads of pilgrims and visitors. Varanasi is the most sacred of all India's holy towns. Although they are not immediately apparent, there are no fewer than 70,000 temples. Gradually, one succumbs to a profound sense of religious awe. Here, cows are truly sacred. And as one approaches the banks of the Ganges, one is met by a constant stream of people carrying small vessels made of clay or metal filled with holy water, the water of the Ganges. Every drop has the power to wash away sins and impurities, to bring health and happiness, because Ganges water is the purest of the pure. Holy men may dedicate years of their lives to a single purpose, that of following the course of the river from mouth to source and back again. Some steps are reserved for the men who perform the ritual of bearing water to the city's many temples. Here too come millions of ordinary Hindus, as pilgrims, to gaze at, drink from, or bathe in the waters of the Ganges. This family is from Madras, in southern India. Like their travelling companions, they are bank clerks. Yesterday, they were at work, formally clad in suits. Today, they're preparing to perform a highly complicated religious rite. Hinduism abounds with myths and stories.
उपसुष्टुतैतु अयं मुहूर्तः श्री सीतारामाभ्यां नमः सर्वेभ्यः सर्वकार्येषु हरिः ओम आचम्य எல்லாரும் ஜலம் கையில போட்டுக்கிட்டு கொஞ்சம் கொஞ்சமா 3 தரம் மந்திரம் சொல்லிட்டு சாப்பிடணும். சொல்லுங்க. ஓம் கேசவாய நமஹ, ஓம் நாராயணாய நமஹ, ஓம் மாதவாய நமஹ, ఓం నారాయణాయ అందరూ చెప్పండి. ఇద్దరికి పోయి ఓం తక్షదు, ఓం తక్షదు, ఓం తక్షదు శివార్పణమస్తు. దాన్ని ఉండాలి అందరూ చెప్పండి. కండులాహ.
Tradition has it that millions of years ago the Ganges was a beautiful maiden. She dwelt high up in the mountains, in the abode of her father, King Himalaya. On the plains below lived a proud and arrogant king named Sagara, who had 60,001 sons. When Sagara spurned the god Vishnu, Vishnu punished him by burning all his sons to ashes, with one exception. Vishnu declared that the sons he had burned would never go to heaven unless their ashes were washed in the tears of Ganges. King Sagara did all he could to induce Ganges to descend to the plain, but in vain. However, Sagara had a grandchild who was so pious and good that he awakened the sympathy of the god Shiva. The consequence was that Shiva caused a great flood of water to stream from the head of the Ganges, with the result that the ashes of Sagara's 60,000 sons were swept away to heaven. Ever since, the Ganges has borne people's ashes up to heaven. In the course of only a few days, in January 1995, no fewer than 12 million people came here to bathe in the Ganges at the point where, according to legend, the river came down from heaven. It was the greatest concourse ever seen on earth, gathered together to pray to the holy river. Is there, perhaps, a broken historical line linking the sacred baths of pharaonic Egypt, Jesus' baptism in the River Jordan, the water in the baptismal fonts of Norway and other Christian countries, and the Hindus gathered here beside the Ganges? Traditions vary. The Ganges worshipped here is female. It is Mother Ganges. Asian rivers do, in fact, tend to be feminine. They represent life and fertility. In the West, on the other hand, rivers have generally been portrayed as male. Old Father Thames, for example, and America's Mississippi, Old Man River. And the fountains of Europe are adorned with half-naked, bearded old men. In Europe, it is Earth itself, which is most often feminine, that symbolizes life and growth. Varanasi has often been termed one enormous graveyard, a graveyard watched over by the god Shiva. People have come here for another reason too, to take their own lives. There was a time when old men could make their way to the banks of the Ganges, buy 2 large casks, tie themselves to them, and paddle out into the current. When the casks filled with water, they sank, and the man they were supporting drowned. Great stacks of wood await the dead. Wood is now so expensive, however, that the poor are cremated in an electric furnace a little higher up the river. Every year, 40,000 people are still cremated here on open pyres. The ashes of the founders of modern India, Mahatma Gandhi and Pandit Nehru, were cast into the river at Varanasi. The rituals are age-old and most elaborate. The families of the deceased carry the corpse.
Hi, girls. I travel a lot for business, and it's hard to leave these two.
Mom, my mama smells like you.
I use Tide Plus Febreze in the wash. It keeps her clothes and stuffed animals smelling fresher for longer.
When are you coming home?
Just one more night.
Tide Plus Febreze. That's my Tide Plus.
To prove that a Febreze car vent clip is still free. So let's get started. What do you guys think of the smell in here?
Light and air.